Today we are living in a much different America. In my view, the actions of the maggots are unforgivable. The Make America Great Again Trumpers, or maggots as I call them, are purposely, intentionally destroying in a few months what has taken America 250 years to build. I acknowledge that America was not perfect. Change was necessary, yes, but we have been a country in constant state of change our entire history. What the maggots are doing is not changing. It is a form of rape and pillage, with the sole purpose of serving the needs of the greedy, the never satisfied, the anti-American population. In my previous videos, I have tried to express why America's founding principles are more relevant than ever. My messages stand on the shoulders of Thomas Paine's 1776 pamphlet entitled Common Sense. He addressed that pamphlet to the inhabitants of America. In his writing, Thomas Paine argued that it was time for the American colonies to break away from British rule. The relationship with Britain was harmful and outdated. America needed to become an independent nation. He wrote about the nature of government, saying government was necessary to maintain order and protect our rights, but it should be limited in power. The best governments are those that serve the people and promote freedom, not control them. He believed that a monarchy, where power is inherited rather than earned, is fundamentally flawed. A king does not have the divine right to rule over others. It's illogical to think that one person is better suited to governing simply because of their birth or their wealth. He supported independence that would allow America to create a government that reflects our values and needs. America could establish fair laws, promote trade with other nations, and do its best to foster unity among the colonies. He concluded his pamphlet with a call to action. He claimed that now is the time to unite and declare our independence. We must work together to build a new nation based on liberty and justice. The struggle for freedom is worth the sacrifices we may have to make. My name is Ken. Welcome to Common Sense 2.0 in defense of our democracy. I am a retired business unit manager with over 30 years of business experience. I'm also a veteran of the U.S. Army, where I served on active duty for nearly 12 years. Using the GI Bill, I obtained my college degree in business administration and received additional education through an employer-sponsored executive MBA program. I obtained my undergraduate degree at age 35 and spent the next 30 years in progressively more senior-level management positions until my retirement. I was hired and employed by Fortune 500, family-owned, and startup organizations. I also had my own business management company. Why do I share this specific information? Because I am watching the unforgivable destruction of our government. Acts of violence against our country's infrastructure, and about-face on nearly every rule, regulation, or law that served as a foundation of the tremendous freedom and benefits we enjoyed as citizens of the United States of America. Because of my experience, I can assure you that no ethical, experienced business manager or military leader would ever walk into an organization and begin destroying its infrastructure. That would be insane. Experience would require those leaders to study the organization, use metrics, and gather and use actual data and numbers to evaluate and measure what was working and what was not. Then, they would assemble a team of subject matter experts and work to create a plan that is time-bound, measurable, and achievable. They would then execute the change plan and at the same time develop the process for measuring the plan's actual results. They would need to ensure their actions were achieving the desired results. If not, they would modify the plan based on the data gathered. That is how it should work. Maggots, on the other hand, claim to be business geniuses. Think Trump, Musk, Thiel, claiming unfathomable expertise that will improve our economy and ensure the safety of our nation. But in truth, their totally destructive actions over the last 9 months have proven otherwise. They are at once removing checks and balances while firing the very people who know how to do the work that needs to get done. They ignore norms, rules, laws, and the Constitution. They have no regard for or respect for human dignity, no regard for historical perspective. They are cruel in their actions, not out of ignorance, but with brutal intentions, unlimited, unashamed, unchecked. They are liars. They are, in short, anti-American in every respect. Maggots are the exact opposite of everything America was founded on, with a spirit of freedom and justice for everyone. My point is simple. We must create a plan. We must meet the maggots head-on with equal or greater action using the power we currently have, and not wait on the upcoming midterms alone to put an end to the maggots' destructive agenda. Trump, MAGA, and Project 2025 must be stopped, must be crushed, must be buried. Our democracy depends on it. I am encouraged by the many individuals and organizations that are working hard to challenge and meet the maggot actions head-on. These individuals and organizations are taking maggots to court, winning important issues, all while the Supreme Court does its best to undermine our Constitution's checks and balances. Many individuals are using their abilities to create a powerful online presence to present fact-based articles, podcasts, and YouTube channels to educate and motivate Americans to pay attention to the destruction and damage being caused by the maggots' agenda. Organizations are standing up and acting by organizing protests, such as the successful No Kings initiatives. Blue state attorneys general, along with judges at every level who were appointed by both Republican and Democratic administrations, are doing a lot of the heavy lifting to protect Americans and their civil liberties. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court continues to block legal actions filed to stop the maggot king. They instead cede power to him, purposely allowing him to continue his destructive behavior. I am taking a slightly different approach by developing a specific plan that will call for actions today and actions once the 2026 midterm elections change the majority in Washington. I call my plan the Common Sense 2.0 Mandate for America. The plan will present multiple articles that describe what we must do now and what we must be prepared to do once the midterm elections shift the balance of power in 2026. We must be ready to execute our plan without delay if we are to protect, defend, and even improve our democracy. We must be ready to answer the questions: what kind of government do we want to have, and what kind of country do we want to be? The maggots have provided proof that our Declaration of Independence, our Constitution, and our current rule of law are not adequate to stop their unforgivable destruction of our government and our country. The success in the 2026 midterm elections will not be enough if we do not have a specific plan to execute immediately. We must understand what we must do, how we must do it, and gather details now. We cannot wait. Here are the first 10 articles of Common Sense 2.0, Mandate for America. Others will follow. Each is a command rooted in constitutional duty, operational logic, and reform necessity. 1. Candidate statement. All candidates must swear by the Constitution, the Declaration, commit to serving all, and prioritize pragmatism over rigid doctrine. 2. Enforceable Oath and Insurrection Clause. Section 3 of the 14th Amendment must be clarified and hardened so that no one who violates their oath can slip back into power. 3. No lifetime federal appointments. Impose term limits, even on justices and other positions of great power. 4. Overturn Citizens United. Reclaim democracy from the dominion of money. 5. Constitutional environmental duty. Affirm that clean air, water, and climate stability are rights, not afterthoughts. 6. Fix immigration with law, dignity, and American values. Restore order, respect, and rule of law. 7. No hidden power. Curb executive orders, shadow docket overreach, untransparent rulemaking. 8. Protect state election laws. Keep federal or military interference out of the states. 9. Rights and responsibility. Gun violence plan. A common sense path that protects rights while reducing deaths. 10. And very important, accountability without impunity. Hold Trump and others legally accountable without special exceptions. This is not a shopping list. This is a blueprint, a plan, a constitutional, operational, moral contract with Americans. Mandate for America will be written, it will be time-bound, and it will be achievable. We must work together. Unforgivable describes how I feel about the maggots and their cruel destruction of our great country. We cannot forget that as unforgivable are the 77+ million registered voters who showed up in November 2024 and elected Trump to a second term. They knew who this man was and what he intended to do to our country. They still voted for him. They are as culpable as every maggot congressional representative, as everyone in the maggot king's administration that is serving as an enabler of the actions happening today. And finally, we cannot forget that as unforgivable are the 20+ million registered voters who did not even show up to cast a ballot. Had they cared enough, had they bothered to vote, our circumstances today may well have been quite different. According to multiple polls, the distribution of registered voters who didn't bother to defend our democracy was roughly equal among the Republicans, Democrats, and Independents. These 20+ million Americans are also enablers of the damage and destruction being done by the maggot administration, the maggot Congress, and the maggot Supreme Court. If you believe in the values of liberty, equality, and truth, and if you stand against the rise of authoritarianism, Common Sense 2.0 is your place to stay informed and engaged in the fight for a better future. Stay with me as I provide a detailed plan to defend our democracy and to defeat the maggot agenda both today and once we win the majority in the 2026 midterm elections. My name is Ken. Welcome to Common Sense 2.0 in defense of our democracy and a plan entitled Mandate for America. Like, subscribe, and share. We have a lot of work to do.